Hey, what's up, Facebook? Just wanted to go live really quick and talk about fats. So the other day in the group, we talked about proteins, why they're important, what types to eat, what some healthy options are for protein, and just some general guidelines. So if you have special nutritional needs, like I should say, first off, this is not a diet prescription, and if you have sensitivities and tolerances with food, definitely see a healthcare practitioner, dietitian first. Another important note, like along with that, is there is not a one-size-fits-all approach to this. So people come into it with their own unique lifestyles, their own unique time needs, constraints, schedules. Sleep and recovery play into it. Food sensitivities, like we talked about, play into what you should and shouldn't be eating, obviously. So with that, I'm just going to give like some very general advice on fats, kind of our take on them. This is based on precision nutrition information. This is one of the, I think, like most widely known and respected nutrition certifications out there. Definitely those guys at Precision Nutrition do their research, and it's research-backed information. So that being said, we'll start out. If you're watching and you want to drop in questions, go ahead and feel free to do that. Even if you're not watching live right now, you can go ahead and drop questions, comments in, and we will do our best to respond. If we don't know the answer, we'll pop it in like the Precision Nutrition group, bounce it off some other people who have their doctorate degree, and so on and so forth, to see if we can get an answer for you if we can't answer it immediately. So the first thing that we'll talk about is serving size. So if you take the size of your thumb, that is like a good, very general guideline for a serving size for fats. So whether it's avocado, oils, yogurt, whatever the case is, with a healthy fat or an unhealthy fat, we'll talk about that too. A thumb size is kind of like a good guideline for a serving size, and each meal you should be shooting for 1 to 2 of those. So based on your caloric needs, that's a big range, obviously, like 1 to 2, it's double or half. But based on how many calories you need per day and just tweaking and adjusting, finding out what works best for you, that's kind of the general rules, like 1 to 2 thumb size servings of fat per meal. So now we're going to talk about balance. So I have this nifty little drawing, hopefully you can see it. There's quote unquote unhealthy fats, which are saturated fats. They get a bad rap. And then there's quote unquote healthy fats, which are your MUFAs and PUFAs. So monounsaturated are your MUFAs, and then polyunsaturated are your PUFAs. So what we're actually going to recommend is that you don't label one of them healthy and one of them unhealthy, because your body needs a balance of all three. So if you were like really to dial this in, we'd want to go a third saturated, a third monounsaturated, and then a third polyunsaturated. So that's based off of how many calories you're taking in of each of those types of fats. And Google is a really helpful resource with this. You can find breakdowns of different foods for the saturated and then the MUFA and PUFA for each, whether it's an oil, butter, yogurt, whatever you're taking in. So have a couple examples of each. And I guess first, before we go through the examples, let's talk about why it's important to balance saturated and unsaturated. So your cells in your body have cell membranes, and so there should be the appropriate amount of rigidity, there we go, in your cell membranes. And so what happens if you eat too much saturated fat, the nutrients just aren't going to get in. Those cell membranes become really rigid and kind of lock together. If you eat too much of the PUFAs or the polyunsaturated, they become like kind of loose and fluid-like, and they're just going to allow nutrients that you need in those cells to kind of flow right through and pass through too quickly and not get stopped, but also then pass into the cell so that they can be utilized. So that's why we want to balance between saturated and unsaturated fats in your diet in general. So a good example of a saturated fat would be a butter or a Greek yogurt. Obviously, with full fat, we're not doing any of the fat-free processed junk. And then monounsaturated avocado, polyunsaturated would be a grapeseed oil or a flaxseed oil. Another example of monounsaturated would be an olive oil. So that's kind of quick take on fats, how much to eat, how to balance them out, and look forward to hearing your questions. Thanks.